Hi, Filmatics. Welcome to the show. Today we have an amazing guest for you. We have John Ierardi, who is an executive and creative producer known for films like Follow Me, Safer at Home, and his most recent film, Torn Hearts from Blumhouse, is coming out and starring Katie Seagal. And let's welcome John to the show. And he's also executive of Showdown Productions. Hi, John.
Hi, how's it going today?
Great. So nice to have you on the show.
Thanks for
Can
having me.
you let our wonderful, fabulous audience know where we're recording with you today?
Yeah, we are in West Hollywood, California. I am in West Hollywood, California at the moment. This nice sunny Friday afternoon.
Yeah, it's a nice day. Even though I had a little scary scare last night, and someone was banging at my door, like they wanted to come in my apartment last night in the middle of the night, and it was so scary.
What?
Yeah. So everyone be careful at night. Yeah. So I'm glad I can make it here today and talk to you guys because yeah. So that's in our West Hollywood, everyone. But
You're safe. You're
yeah.
safe.
My big, large, menacing dog saved me.
I love it. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a very sweet husky. I was just she didn't bark at all, but I had to call the cops and they definitely checked everything.
Oh,
So
you had a busy night.
well, because you work with Blumhouse, they do like those horror films and those scary films, so you know.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I want to ask you, where did you grow up, John?
I'm originally from New Haven, Connecticut, and I lived in another town called Hamden, Connecticut, which is the next town over. Um, New Haven's the pizza capital of the world. It's known for the best thin and crispy pizza. If you haven't gone, I always have to say that and plug New Haven pizza because it is the best. And there's always a battle between New York, New Haven, and New Haven. Pepe's and Sally's Pizza. If you get a chance, you gotta go.
Wait a second. Now you're talking to someone that was born in Italy, and we all know that Naples, Italy has the best pizza in the
Oh,
entire world. Mangia
uh-huh.
Mazzaria.
Hey, listen, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all.
But maybe in the USA? Okay.
Yeah, you gotta check it out.
Yes, okay. So I'll definitely do that. And so you're this so can you share with us, like, did you go to the movies? Did you have a favorite film when you were a little kid?
Yeah, so it's interesting. My grandparents had this huge collection of VHS tapes, and I remember one of the first movies they ever put into their like 1950 Chevy VCR that they had, and whenever you put a tape cassette in, this car would light up, and it would make all these car sounds. It was the coolest thing. I thought it was the coolest thing growing up. And one of the first movies I watched with them that I could remember was Some Like It Hot, the Billy Wilder movie. And, obviously starring Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis. And I was I was in awe from watching that. And it was the first time I really felt this sense of that's something I want to do one day. And also just like, it's that kind of road trip movie that, they're on this train, they're going to Florida, and it was just like, you wanted to be a part of that group. And I just remember just watching that, and it stuck with me for so long. And I was obsessed with it. Like every time I had to watch that movie when I went over to my grandparents' house.
Oh yeah, I love screwball comedy. I write screwball. And what about Palm Beach Story, like the Weenie King? Did you see that one?
The Weenie King? I didn't.
Oh, you gotta see the Palm Beach Story. There's this guy, he's the Weenie King, and the Lady Eve and all those. Like, just so fascinated, like Groucho Marx and all those people. Like, yeah, just I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and they also introduced me to like movies like Giant. Yeah, it was amazing, especially like all those older VHS videos that they had in their basement, and it really was the first introduction to cinema. So
that's awesome. That car that your parents had with the cassettes that light up, do you have a picture of it? That sounds awesome.
I wish I did. I tried. I think you could probably find it on Amazon. Probably, some vintage collection area. But it was so cool. It's literally you press play and like the lights would go off and like the car would rev up. I'm like, I need to find one of these.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're gonna make some sales on that car. I want
Seriously.
one, right? What's it called? Like the Chevy cassette thing, or
Yeah, I think it's got to be. I think you probably could Google the Chevy VHS tape player or something like that. But I haven't looked for it in a long time. I think after this call, we'll dive deep into Google to try to find it.
I hope our audience knows what VHS tapes are. The old day, back in our day when we were like at VHS, we did. These days, it's like you can watch it on your little cell phone. A movie.
I know it's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah, it makes me binge sometimes, and my friends just sent me this like it's something that everyone's watching, and like it's kind of addicting. And I go, "Why did you send me this? It's so addicting, and you just can't stop watching it." And it's like full of sex, drugs, blackmail, lies. He said, she said, and it's just like, and you just can't stop peeking. And I'm obsessive, so like so yeah, like these days binge watching stuff, like you just can't stop watching something. Like I need to see part 1, part 2, part 3, part
Oh, I know.
4. There was a series
Absolutely.
there was some serial killer movie because of Blumhouse, that's all you think of, is horror and stuff, with
Mm-hmm.
the girl from X-Files. What's her name? I forgot, but oh my god, do you know X-Files, the female actress? She's in some
Yeah.
serial killer movie, and there's like I think 5 parts, and the serial killer is just it's so good. It's so good. Our audience probably knows, but anyhow,
Oh, Gillian Anderson, right? She
yes,
was
it's
in
with
that.
Gillian Anderson.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was Gillian Anderson, and I was so mesmerized. Her acting's incredible, and she's
Oh wow.
yeah, and it's really good. I highly recommend it. But so you're this little kid. Did you have brothers and sisters in Connecticut, or it was just
Yeah, I have two older sisters. They're twins, Alicia and Jennifer. Yeah. Um,
how fun was that? Twins?
it was a blast. Yeah. So I was the only man of the house growing up. I was my mom and my two sisters. Um, and then my grandmother also moved in with us. So then I had 4 women, and it was just me. But it was great. We always had fun. I was always tagging along with them, obviously, as them being a little bit older. So them sneaking me into the R-rated movies and things like that. But they loved me well as much as I did growing up.
Did they ever could you tell them apart? Did they ever trick you that one was the other one and not the other one?
I mean, when they were younger, they definitely looked more alike, but now it's they're totally different styles and things like that. But I mean, sometimes on the phone, that's the thing. Like when they would call me, I think I was talking to Alicia, but now it was Jennifer, and I'd be like, wait, I thought I was talking. This
That's
whole
so
time.
cute. So
Yeah,
so you're in Connecticut with the best pizza, and
Connecticut.
you're watching films like Some Like It Hot, which is amazing, Marilyn, and oh my gosh, all of them. It's just the funniest stuff.
So good,
And
yeah.
and then did you go off to college? Did you study film? Like,
Yeah, so from there, I grew up playing sports like hockey and lacrosse, and I was always, my parents always kind of pushed the arts on us, make music and film, and I always wanted to be involved in some capacity, and I really kind of fell in love with acting as well. But again, coming from where I was from, there was no outlet for that. There was no acting school. So I had my aunt Gail, who's also like a second mom to me. She lived in Manhattan. She lived in Hell's Kitchen. So in high school, I started taking the train into Manhattan start taking acting classes, like just scene study. And I fell in love with it. I studied with Flo Salon Greenberg. He was like Matt LeBlanc's teacher, and she was the sweetest woman, and she really kind of helped me just understand like the art of the scene, and find the appreciation even more just from what I was watching. And from there, it just kind of took off, and I started doing off Broadway plays like Biloxi Blues and Tea and Sympathy. Was going to the actors workshop, and yeah, and then also started developing my own like short stories and things like that within that time of New York. And I lived there for about 5 years, like right after high school. I went right to the actors workshop to study because that's just what I wanted to do. I was in love with it. That's all I thought about. From there,
did you have a favorite actor?
I love all the old actors. I did. I loved, obviously, like the James Deans, and I mean, I love Harrison Ford. I've loved Harrison Ford forever. I always thought he was just like the coolest, most laid back type of actor.
Well, I gotta say one thing. I see Steve McQueen's picture behind you.
Yeah, good old Steve McQueen. Yeah, I mean,
talk about cool, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, just the greats. Absolutely. So, and yeah, I mean, I from there I went to Los Angeles. It's a typical kind of California LA story. My dad picked me up one day in Manhattan and drove me cross country, and I knew one person out here, and crashed with them for about a month, and got a job, and kind of just it took off from there. Started working as a casting producer, and for such shows as I ain't getting America's Got Talent, and yeah, I just really kind of found out what production was like through that, and also being an actor and getting different TV shows and movies. It just gave me more of an appreciation on set and like actually what happens, and you learn so much just from being there.
Oh, wait. You were casting on America's Got Talent?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, well, we got to talk about that a little bit. Like, how long were those lines?
Oh, they were long, especially downtown at like the convention centers. It was such a cool gig, because I would also I was sent to back to New York to go to different comedy clubs and different bars to find talent, to find unknown talent, to kind of tell them, hey, look, like we're having these auditions, you should totally come. And I got a few friends even on the show that were musicians that I grew up with, just to even audition in front of everybody. It was amazing. So yeah, it was super fun, and again, it taught me so much more about production and how much goes into it, and it was a great working experience.
That's really cool. Did you have a favorite discovery of a talent while you were on America's Got Talent?
My friend from high school, her name was Rachel Zamstein. She still is a musician, and she made it the furthest on who I found that was personal friend, and she did a White Stripes song, and I just remember being so proud of her and also myself, because it's just I made this happen for her, and she was just so happy, and that was probably the best moment of finding, and just also helping a friend that is talented that wouldn't normally get that moment for themselves. So it was great. It was great.
That's a beautiful thing you did for someone, because there's so many people listen to the show and it hits #1 weekly, so thank you everyone. They're just like, how do you get in, especially if you don't live in LA? But now with social media, like, people can be found on social media, or like things like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, podcasts. I know a girl in my neighborhood that quit her job in retail because she said she was just working 40 hours a week, wasn't paying her little studio apartment. She loves fashion. She's not very tall, but she's very skinny. And then she's got 600,000 followers now on TikTok, 600,000 followers on Instagram. She's sponsored. She just went to Coachella. And like, it's funny because like when you're friends with someone, we're always in baggy clothes or just dog clothes. And then she shows us the pictures from Coachella, and you're like, what? Oh my God. Yeah. It's like supermodel with all these clothes. And like, where'd you get that costume? So it's nice to see that people are getting sponsors and getting discovered, because that's beautiful.
Yeah. Sometimes it really does. The cream rises to the top, and some people you just need to give them a stage, and I feel like everybody really needs just that chance sometimes, and luckily those shows were able to do that, and how long have they been on for, and just to show people's talent specifically. So yeah, and then while I was working there, I was also just auditioning, and I got cast in this pilot, and the director, his name was Will Wernick. We became really close, and while we were on set, we just developed this friendship, and we started talking about different projects and films that we loved, and directors, and we both loved like early '90s kind of movies, like like Seven and the movie Sleepers, just kind of dark, some dark stuff like you were talking about, or like serial killer type things. And
So why do you like Seven? Like, why do you? What was the fascination on Seven?
Again, like Fincher, he's just such a great filmmaker in general, but it was just the pacing and the tone of it, and it's super dark, and it's a crime thriller. Like I love those. And again, Will and I, like we would just talk about this stuff, and we had ideas. And so, one thing I noticed, especially being in LA, is you need to find that group or that person that when you say like, hey, like we're gonna show up at 5 p.m. on a Friday to write and to work, that people actually, they do it. And I've had those groups so many times where like nobody would show up, so you really need that one person to be like, yeah, like let's do this. And we developed a couple projects together, and then we've done 3 movies now together since then that have been our first film was Escape Room, and like Voltage Pictures picked it up and went through Lionsgate, and then Follow Me we've worked on together, Safer at Home. You can see the movie poster right there.
Nice. I was wondering what that one was.
Yeah, that was shot during the pandemic and the riots in LA, and I was story by credit on that as well as a producer, and he directed that. So I found that relationship early on with someone that I knew that when they said they were going to show up to work, and especially when there's so much distraction in cities like LA and New York, that we actually sat down and we did the work. And it paid off, and there's no bigger reward that I've found that when you have an idea and you write it on paper and then it turns into a film, and you look at the poster and you're like, how the hell did this happen?
That's a great feeling. Like,
so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You have your poster. You wrote that, and it's in where can they see Safer at Home? Like, is it what streaming?
Hulu. It's on Hulu. You could rent it on any like Amazon and stuff like that, but it's primarily on Hulu right now, as well as another one, Follow Me, which I was an EP on that as well, and Will directed that also. And that's both those movies are on Hulu at the moment, and they're always like in like the top 5 to 10, I think, of people watching. So
congratulations! Yeah, they seem dark is dark because I write screwball and comedy when I was first starting, and since I didn't have credits, they go, well, comedy's really hard because unless you had that A-list actor attached, like everyone was like, don't you have anything dark? So that's why I became a literary manager, because all my guy friends had dark stuff, and I got to pitch those things. And but I go, well, if anyone likes screwball comedy or kids content, let me know, because that's what I do.
Yeah. And I loved, again, like growing up, and I would love to do a film like, Stand By Me, or The Sandlot was another huge movie that like influenced by I remember I just watched that with my mother like all the time growing up as a kid, and we quote, there's so many different quotes of, from even like Ham, like walking by the pool and just saying, hi ladies, as a kid, to like screams Cannonball. Like those moments, for me growing up, like cinematic moments are the same as like seeing something like a giant for the first time. They really hit a chord. So
that Sand-A-Lot is so cute. Like that, and kind of like Goonies, like Sand-A-Lot and the Goonies.
Yeah.
I wish that those kind of films would come back. They seem like they were so innocent and pure, like innocent and pure. Like we're living in such a time that's tumultuous, and people, like almost every day someone's sick or has been passed away, and it's so I think that people need this, comedy or fun family or fun adventurous films. But
I think that's why not X-Files. I think that's why Stranger Things does so well now, because it's like everybody wants to be a part of that group as a kid that's like running to their friend's house and be like, look what I found, like you got to come with me, get on your bike. Same as Goonies.
Yeah, come with me on their bike. Nowadays it's like our little electric scooters. And probably in the future, flying ones, or flying skateboards, probably. But so
listen, I'll talk about hoverboards all day with that.
Hoverboards,
That was my
yeah.
dream.
Oh, really? A hoverboard? Yeah, that would be fun. And you just
I still am holding out. I think that's gonna happen
the
still. So
Jetsons, those little cars that go up in the air in the space, right?
yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Coming.
So you have you and your writing partner have been writing on this. So do you have a favorite director that you also that you just is a favorite?
Yeah. Let me see here. I mean, that's such a.
You
I
can
mean,
name a couple if you
favorite
can't
director.
do one.
I mean, I do. I love Michael Mann was such a big influence as well. Um, from just doing movies like Heat and like The Last of the Mohicans was such a huge film for me. Like the soundtrack, I remember like that was one of my father's favorite movies as well. And it really did it. Like it showed me that you can create these massive worlds, because even like some like a hot and things like that, like those were kind of contained, like even being on the train and stuff. But then, seeing like a movie like Heat or Last of the Mohicans, where it's just you're creating this, you're being brought back in time, like especially with Last of the Mohicans specifically. It's like you're reading a book. You're getting these images of like, how did they make this happen? It baffled me watching this as a kid. But like, yeah, his filmmaking, and again, it's been trying to been replicated so many times, especially with movies like Heat and like like the Ben Affleck movie that came out, like the Town that came out, which there's so many different similarities there. But he was definitely a bigger director for me.
Yeah, and I also you spoke about soundtrack. The music can just play a significant role in a film, like because there's sound effects, and then there's
Oh, totally.
the like you said, the soundtrack can add so much to it, especially if you're doing a film that goes back like in the 80s or something. Like like Fast Times at
Mm-hmm.
Richmond High, you're just like, oh my gosh, or Valley Girl with all the music.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, big time. I love
You're like, "Oh
that.
my god, did we really talk like that?" And if I watch that, I'm gonna start doing Valley Girl, like, "Oh my god, like, totally, right?"
And also like Gus Van Sant was a huge director too that I loved. I mean, especially Good Will Hunting. It's always referenced in conversations when talking about that. But like it was such a good. And seeing Robin Williams in some of those scenes too, it's like it's so heart wrenching.
Yeah, and you said that, something that inspires your work, filmmaker, you wanna share with us a little bit? Like, you were talking about Stand By Me, right, with Rob Reiner?
Yeah, I mean that movie hit such a chord. Again, just being as a kid, and I watched that film around the same age as the kids were. The actors being portrayed in that film, and I looked around. I think after I watched that, and you really do only have a certain amount of buddies or friends growing up that they will be with you, your whole life. And I have so many friends back home, luckily, that you don't have to talk to for even a year or two, and then it's like, oh, John's back in town, and it's like, hey, let's meet here, and it's like you pick up from right where you left off, and it's those friendships are few and far between. And I think Stand By Me really taught you that. And Richard Dreyfuss, that opening scene when he's sitting in the car, and how that movie starts of him being older and learning about the death of his best friend growing up, and the music, it was just so beautiful, But like the message in that movie was so strong. And again, you think about films like you see as a kid when you get older, and how much more it means to you, and just the different stages of reflection. And so yeah, Rob Reiner, that movie changed a lot for me.
Yeah, and, that's a beautiful film. We haven't talked about that one in a while. I'm glad that you brought up films like that 'cause, it's like, I gotta see The Stand a lot again. That's so cute. Um,
Oh yeah.
and then do you have, like, a favorite directing scene, or how do you like, like a film shot that like really stands out to you from a movie?
I mean, I could talk about The Godfather again all day.
Sure, sure.
There's one shot in The Godfather where he's talking to, he's trying to make the internal decision to tell his wife Kay if he did kill somebody, and when that door shuts, you know that it's the beginning of the end, then the demise. Like he's switched over to the family. Like everything that he's tried not to be, is now he's becoming. He is becoming his brothers, his father, and he's realizing he is a product of where he came from, and what he has to do to survive. And that scene, just that door shutting, was so, it really hit hard and impactful moment. And choices that you see, like, that Coppola makes throughout those series of those films. Yeah, like as an artist, and again, like just watching certain choices that he made in those movies were. Anytime that's on, I have to watch that. Like, even if I have to drop what I'm doing, it's the perfect movie just to have in the background, like when you're eating dinner. That's how good that film is.
Yeah, a lot. They said a lot of times are upset on like them like kind of outing the way like the whole Godfather thing comes about. And
Right.
but my mom is from a small town outside of Naples, Italy, and my mom's father, he he and my mom's brother,
Naples, yeah.
they're like these guys that wear like
Yeah, I
these
think we were talking about
hats.
this too. Like,
They have like the fedora hats, and there's like groups of guys that play cards and bingo, but like when they walk around, they're like the most respected people in like the little village. And so when you watch
yeah,
that, it's like, yeah, I've seen that. And also in certain parts of Italy, when someone's getting married, the people that do those kind of things, they're like, oh, you're getting married. I see that Ferrari. Well, we want that Ferrari, or they'll want money, and then they will just take that from the people. They just, so there's a lot of things that like you heard a lot of people like, some people that were actually in that didn't like the way they portrayed it, but it's still
sure.
an amazing film because just it's so well done. Like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
those, and I consider him a master filmmaker. When you look at him, you're like, gosh, just to make those beautiful movies like that's incredible. And
It's timeless too, and there's so many films that were shot back then that you just can't you couldn't make today. It wouldn't get greenlit. It just wouldn't happen.
oh my gosh, yeah, just think about it, like how times change, but then there's
Right.
certain films that withstand the test of time that you can look at over and over again. Like, I still like when I see like The Bicycle Thief or The Postman, El Postino. I mean, just sweeps you
Right.
away with like just you're like, wow, that's stunning. But John, I'm gonna invite you back for part two because we've got to get
Sure.
to like where you start. We got to talk about all your films and your
Yeah.
upcoming films because you got Katie Seagal in it. And so
Absolutely.
to our wonderful audience, please come back for part two with John Ierardi. We'll be right back. Thank you for listening, and take a second to download the podcast and give us a nice 5-star review if you like, and buy me coffee, Sneakies. So thank you so much. We'll see you back on part two.